Alright everybody, I am back with part 2 of the mini cocktail build step-by-step process here. And this is just a very short intro because this is a much longer video, a good bit longer, but this is the putting it together section. I'm going to show you how I start with the pieces of wood that I cut up from the part 1 and got everything ready and prepped, and now we're going to put it together with all the hardware that I use and the steps involved. All the way up to the point where we'll start painting, and then that'll be part 3. So I'm going to show you that now, and I will be back at the end to talk about that just a little bit. So hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed the first section and got something out of it. Please do let me know what you think. Alright guys, woodworking is done on the outside for the most part. I will have a couple things to go over later on, but the next steps here are putting the cabinet together. So I've got the bottom right here, and these are the sides, and I've got this side here, which I showed you is the SD card, the test switch, and the power supply. These are the ends where you'll see where those go, and of course the control panels. So the first thing we do is we're going to put one of these sides on, and I get pretty much everything from Home Depot here. I just thought I'd show you what I got. I use a lot of these 1/2-inch screws right here. Okay, so you can zoom in on that, but it's a little 1/2-inch screw, and that's what I got. And then I've got 5/8 ones as well, because this is 1/2-inch MDF. So when I put it through one of these braces, well, then it just makes a perfect distance, and I need as much need the screw to grab a hold of this as much as possible. So if I show you this, this is a little 1/2-inch screw. See if you can see that. Whoops, I just dropped it. I'll show you on this one. Right, can't hold on to it. Well, there we go. All right, so I can hold on to it. I'll just put it like that. Right, but you get the gist of it. It's a 1/2-inch board. It's a 1/2-inch screw. If you add basically a washer to it or one of these brackets, it's just about the right. It's just the right distance. And then these brackets here, I like these. You get 3 holes in each side. I like the stability because it's wider, so I'll put 3 of those on here. So there'll be 3 similar like that, and you'll see how that goes on. And then these little corner braces are for the ends over here. And then I've got some just little washers if I need them. And these are the feet that go on the bottom, and I'll show you that later as well. So I'm going to set up the tripod, see if I can show you how I do all this, and hopefully get something out of it. Alright, let's see what we can see here, or what you guys can see, and I'm just going to go ahead and start doing this. I'll keep talking. One of the things you have to do is kind of look down the line, make sure that I'm okay on everything. This is going to square it up pretty good. Sometimes I've found that it will some of the boards are a little bowed, so you kind of got to adjust it. Maybe you might have to loosen up a little, you might have to stick a washer in somewhere, but this one's looking pretty good. So I always do the middle one first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square it up like such, and then I've got the spot, so it's kind of like you just got to make sure you keep your spot. You can use a pencil if you want, and mark these out to make sure that you got the right holes. If your hand slips, that might be something you want to do. But I've done it enough for myself where basically I can just use this maybe right here, And if I get it right in the middle, it works nice. Okay. Okay, so I got one there. All right. And then what I'll do is, before I put in any more, I'll make sure this feels good like that, like it's coming up tight. There might be a seam down in through here. You want to make sure it's nice and flush. And of course, you want your ends to be lined up right. So basically, once everything's lined up right, you can do this one. The first one is the trickiest, that's for sure. So hopefully you can see this, guys, and that you're getting something out of it. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and flip it up so that I can make sure that I get this right. No, maybe not. Just gotta go for it sometimes. And if you don't get this one right, it's gonna cover up that little hole if you have to do another hole. So it's not that big a deal. You can get it started. That's the tricky part. Alright. Camera, no camera, I gotta make sure this one goes in there right. I just had to adjust there for a minute, make sure I had that lined up right. Okay, so I got it just barely started. And that's it. So then before I go any further, I just want to make sure that this is nice and flush. I want all this to line up nice. One of the cool things is that if this bottom piece is bowed, the end ones that I put on, I may have to kind of hold it out and then drill. And then it helps straighten everything out. But this middle one should be good, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the other screws. And like I said, you get 6 screws in here, 6 braces total. You can do the math. It's very, very secure. And like I said, these 1/2-inch screws, you don't have to worry about it going too far. Last thing you want is the screw coming out the other side of the wood that you work hard on. I know I don't want to do that. I have to go do a whole new piece. Alright. Okay, so there's that. Now, this one, I found the best positioning is to line it up right where this crease is. Depending on this, I've done it enough where I know where the wires are going to sit. So I'm going to put that one on there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these other ones in here while I'm here and looking at it. Let me get one more. And you get better with this as you go. So now here's the one where I've got to feel, I tend to feel for it, is that level. And I'll look, make sure that that's flush. I don't know if you can see that, but as I flush up this side, I'll show you when we get down there where that's not going to be flush, so I'll have to be careful on that. But the screws and the braces will hold everything in place. Good. Okay. You definitely want a charged power screwdriver here, because I use it a lot. A lot of little screws in here. Okay. Now we go ahead, put this one down here. See if you can see that. Yep. Okay. And I don't have to worry about anything for the first 3 screws here. Like I said, I've done it enough. I'm not really worried about marking it. But if you feel more comfortable marking it with your pencil, feel free. I'll go ahead and put these 2 in here. I'll just do this one side, and then I'll put the other side on and show you the results afterwards. No need to show you how to do both sides. They're the same on both sides. So. Some of this may be basic to some people, and some people it may really help. So hopefully I'm helping some people out there. So now you can see that, right? Let's see if you can see that. Here, I'll just grab the tripod. Right, so look, see how that's off? So before I put that screw in, I got to make sure to hold it. I got to hold that out flush before that first screw goes in there. So you're going to get a little bow, because that's the way these boards are. But once you get this down in place, everything looks good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've done it enough where I can feel it. If I just hold it, right? If I hold it on the bottom, I can feel how flush it is. And the nice rounded edges help you. You don't have to be exactly on line, but yet it still looks good. I try to get it as very close as I can, but it doesn't matter. Now, this is the hardest part when you got to do this with one hand. I want to make sure I hold that there. You may end up having to clamp it or get somebody's help or something. Okay, hold on here. See, I'm having a problem too. No matter how many times I do this. Okay, there we go. And then I hold it tight. Okay. Is that good enough? Yep. That looks nice. Looks good. And then even though I've already got the one screw in there, I'll still hold it up when I do the other ones. Or I'll start a little bit lower inside that hole, because you're getting tight as you can. There we go. One more screw and I'll be done with this side. If I'm not boring you yet. And there we go. So there's the 3 all the way down that line, looking pretty good. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's level. That's a little off actually. I may have to go back and fix that. I'll let you know if I can't fix it another way. So then we look at this end, and that's not too bad either. So then as you put it all together, it'll all come together. When these things go on and these pieces, everything squares up pretty nice. So I'll be back once I get the other side on. Alright guys, I got the other side on here. I just wanted to show you what I end up doing is I just put these in here just to see how it looks, you know, see if it's going to line up right, and then that usually gives me the good distance if it's too tight or if it's loose. But if they kind of fit in there snug, just loosely like that, then I know I'm pretty much on. I went ahead and fixed this corner down here. Hopefully you can see that. Or is it the other corner? Might be the other corner. Yeah. It was this corner, that first one. So I fixed that corner so that it's flush. Basically what I did was I pulled these screws out. Hopefully you can see that. I pulled these screws out and then I just slid like a washer under there, right? So I put a washer underneath one, like underneath here, and that gave me just enough height to fix that so that I wouldn't have to move it all over. So, and there's nothing wrong with one washer in there because it's still plenty secure, which is nice. So, and then everything's kind of lined up. So now what I'll do is I'll show you the ends. So see if I can video putting in one of these ends. Right. So we'll take this end and so I'll just pop them in place here. Right. So we're just popping these in place, these ends. Okay. And they're just going to sit in there like that. Right. And then when this goes on, control panel, it'll basically sit just like that flush. So that's good. And I'll show you how I'm going to put the control panel on here in a minute. But this gets all flush. It's all flush in there. So if we do all of our cuts right, it all turns out good. You know, you try to get your measurements right and your cuts right. And like I said, I've done it enough now where I feel pretty confident that it's going to, and it looks good. So then I'll show you how I clamp this in there. Basically, I'm going to use these little clamps here. So go ahead and video that from that point. Open up these clamps real quick. Clamps, not clamps, braces. Alright. So I need 4 screws and 2 of those. And it's the same concept. I'm going to line it up nice and even. And you know, you can use like, you know, T-squares, squares, and levels, and you know, you can use a lot of different stuff if you want. But I don't know, it looks fine to me. It works fine for me just to eyeball it and then use my finger to line it up. And then once we have it in place, we'll do the bottom one first, which is a little tricky. I'm going to get that lined up right in the center. Okay. That's pretty good. And then go ahead and put the other one on there. That's nice and snug. Sometimes it takes a while to catch, but once it catches, push down on it. I think that'll be alright. Before I put it in, I just kind of look at how it's going to turn out. I don't want it to suck it in. Like this one might be a little too far out. Right? So if I can see if I can show you that. So if you can see that, there's like a gap there. Right? So I might need to move that one. This one's nice and flush because I've got it right where I want it. What I don't want to happen is to drill in there and then this board gets sucked in there like that, and then it's off down here. Or I can put in a washer, which I might just put it in a washer because it's easier, and as long as I do only one washer, it's still plenty secure. So let's do that. We'll put in one washer. So just slide it in there inside, if you can see that at all. I think you probably understand what I'm talking about. And then now I can tighten it down like such, but it's very tight, and I've got the one washer in there and I'm still flush right there. So the washers come in handy. Like I said, as long as you only use one, you're not taking away from any strength. Oop. Okay, and there's that. Let's see if I can show you that. And that's the end, right? So now I'm nice and flush along here. And I'll go ahead and put the other end on, and I'll come back and show you the next pieces after that. Alright, so the next part here is I've kind of got the control panel in place. Everything's lined up here, looking pretty good. So you get it right where you want it. And then I just take a pencil, and underneath I draw a pencil line so that I know where I want my board. And then I can pull this off, and you can see I got a pencil line there. Okay? And what that pencil line is for one of these 3/4 by 3/4 inch dowels. That's called a dowel. I don't know, I just get it in the Home Depot area, but it works perfect. 3/4 by 3/4. This piece is 4 inches and 3/4 inch long. So I've got it on the plans right there. That's what this piece is, right? 4 inches, 4 3/4 inches, right there. So then, where this is going to go is the top of this piece is going to go right where that pencil line is. And you don't want to get too close down here. Give yourself a little gap down there, and then you'll be in good shape. And then what happens is, as you can see, what's going to happen is, how can I show you this? Right? So it's going to be like that. And then there's going to be screws. There's going to be 2 screws that go down through the control panel into this piece. Right? So one about right there. If you can see the shadow. It's got a shadow there. One's going to be about right there. And one's going to be about right there. So what you want to do is we're going to take 2 screws, and a little bit closer in is where we're going to screw these onto here. And you'll see that as I go. Now the size you want is 1 inch. This is soft, so I really push it pretty hard. I've got 1.25 inches, but that is a little too long, and I don't want it to come through the side over here. So I'm going to use a 1 inch screw, which is going to give me 3/4 inch through this, and then a 1/4 inch into here, but probably a little bit more, because this is soft enough where if I really wrench down on it, it's going to indent it. So I will show you that now. get a good spot for this thing so you can see. Alright, hopefully you'll be able to see that. Alright. Actually, I'll end up doing this, which will cause you not to be able to see that. Let's see if I can get you in there. I don't know if you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this baby right here. You know what? I'll be right back. What I forgot to do, as I usually do, is I just go ahead and start these pretty good down into there. It makes it a lot easier when I go to put them on here. So I just start the screws, and I'm going to try to show you how I do one. But again, it's fairly straightforward, like I showed you. You just leave a little gap down here, maybe a 1/2 inch, because basically you're going to have a little over a 1/2 inch on each side. So just a little gap. You just don't want it buttoned up tight there. Line it up on that pencil mark, and then just screw her down in there. And then let it really go deep into it. If you have to, get a regular screwdriver. So I'll show you. So you just go right along that edge. You can see how deep I put that one in there. Hopefully that's can focus in on that. Like that one I'll screw in a little bit more. And you'll end up sort of loosening these because I'll have another long piece that goes along here. And I'll show you that in a few minutes, but you'll see that we'll end up having to loosen it and different things as we put things together, but it's in place now. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3, and then I'll be back. So you can see I got those in there, and I just went ahead and put this first control panel down on here. And then what you want to do is you want to give yourself some markings for the holes you're going to drill into the control panel. Okay, so you want to make sure that your dot, once it's on there, is going to go down through here. Now that dot is actually a little bit, not quite, I think I actually raised that up a little bit. Right? And then that one's okay, but you want to, you want to make sure that you're even on both ends, right? So if I got this one here, I am not quite a little over 3/4, so I can probably move it up to say like 1 inch, right? So I'll be 1 inch up, and then I'll go 1 inch up here, and then here you want it roughly about the same. So, but I'm about 3/4. I think that'll be okay. It really won't look, as long as these two are even and these two are even. This one and this one are even going up and down. So we got about 1 inch there and about 3/4 here. And you can play with it. It just depends, because you want to make sure that you drill down into this. And then what I'll show you over here is these are my drill bits. So if I'm doing a black cabinet, I'll use these black drywall type screws. These work really nice. They got a nice coarse screw to it, and then the top looks pretty good because it's all black. But I'm doing a blue one, so I'm going to go ahead and use these screws that I found. They're actually concrete screws, but they work very well, and they look really nice on there. Hopefully that's not too blurry. I'm using my flip for everything here. But you want to just make sure that you do a pilot hole, right? So I'm going to use this 9/64, and I just kind of look at it and make sure that I get a pilot hole that goes down through there, because you don't want this to expand or split or anything. So you just run a pilot hole, and then the tricky part, what I found out, is to embed this screw into this. You want to use basically a drill bit that is going to be just the same size or a hair bigger than the end of your screw. Okay, so you can see that. And then what you do is you drill down in there very, very carefully couple millimeters just to be able to embed this screw, and I'll show you that here in a moment. I'll try to set this up so that you can see what I'm doing. I think that'll do it right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put my... Now this screw, this pilot hole is going to go all the way through. I know this one's good. I'm going to move that one up here in just a second. But these you want to be precise. Okay. I'm getting a little bit of dust in here. It's not too big a deal. And then on the bottom, I just like scrape this off because this MDF kind of makes a little, I don't know what you call it. It just kind of makes a spot where you have to scrape it off there, so you can see that. Okay, so that's their pilot hole. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and do this one with my measuring tape here. Let's see where I gotta go. I'm going to go up an inch, so right about there. Okay. So I'm going up an inch. And again, you want to be pretty precise on this because you don't want to screw your control panel up. Okay. That's that. Scrape the bottom off. And then what I usually do is before I do anything, I just make sure my pilot hole is good. I make sure that baby's going to go down through there, no problem. And then pull it out once. Go ahead and do it on the bottom one too. Okay, so pilot hole's good. Feel good about that. Now this top piece, we're going to go ahead and change out my bit. And this bit just happens to be a 3/8 bit. Now the first time I did this, I was scared to death. So I don't know, hopefully you can see what I'm doing here and that I don't block the light. You can see I'm going to go right on top of the hole I just did, and I'm going to put just barely the weight of the drill on it. Because this MDF is soft. And what you can do is, the bit's coming out. Get that in there tight. Is you can just make sure you got it where you want it. Alright, so you can see that. Now that's not too bad, but I actually need to go a little bit deeper. And you know, you'll need to go a little bit deeper than you think. But again, you just go little by little. And it's good to do all this woodwork and dust and everything all in the beginning. This is all we got to do before we got to do all this stuff before we put the electronics in. To keep it nice and clean in there when we do that. Okay, that's probably good. There we go. So that looks pretty deep, but it's actually really a good distance. I mean, that's maybe a 1/4 inch in there, and then we're not even quite half, probably way through. So then now, when I actually put this screw in here, screw it down, of course you're going to have 4 screws, right? Now when I put that screw in, well, once I sand this off, I'll get it at the right distance and it'll look nice. So now it's embedded in there very good. I'm actually a little deep, right? And that might might be a little bit too big on the screw drill bit head. So I'll probably try the next size down for the other holes just to be sure. But it'll work. It'll work just fine. But that makes it nice and smooth right here. And once you sand this down before you put the screw in and then paint it and everything, it'll be nice and snug because the paint will add a little bit of depth to it too, if that's the right word. So that's how you do that. I'm going to go ahead and finish these four, actually both of them, and then I'll be back. Alright, I got this one done. So I ended up using the next size down, which was a 5/16 bit. It was just a little snug, but if I, drove that nail, screw in there a little bit more, it expanded it out, and if I have to, I'll ream it out just a hair, but I think it's going to be fine, and this one's going to be fine too, but I just felt more comfortable with the other one. And so then now I've got it in place, right? So then now that I've got it in place, I'm going to go ahead and drill the pilot holes through here into these pieces right here before I put the screw in. You definitely want to do the pilot holes, otherwise it just, I don't know, it makes for a much cleaner install. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll screw them in, and I'm going to try to go ahead and show you this if at all possible, at least a little bit. Okay. There's two. And you know what I like to do, actually, before I do the other ones, I like to go ahead and put these screws in, and then it holds it in place. You can see how nicely that goes in there, but it's still very snug. Doesn't take too much pressure to put it in. Okay, there's those two. And now I'll do these other ones. There's those two. Go ahead and take a couple more screws. Those in. Okay, and if they're not as flush as you want, I'm not worried about it right now, but when you get down to it, you can make them as flush as you want with a regular screwdriver, but you can see, let me grab another regular screwdriver, if I can find one. That's not a good one. I'll just use this little one. Okay, so if you can see that, you can always just screw it down a little bit more, and now it's nice and flush. So that's how you can make these flush, and this control panel is ready. So then I can do the other control panel, and then the other pieces that'll go in here will be, I'll end up with a piece here on this side, and that will be for the monitor, but I won't do that until I actually start getting the monitor and everything in there, and I'll be doing that another time. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this control panel, and I'll go ahead and end the video for tonight. I think that I've given you quite a bit on how to build this thing, but I will pick it up after I get the other control panel on here. I'll do the same thing as I did on this, and then the next steps I will show you later. Until then, bye. Hey, I thought I was done, but I wanted to come back and tell you you can do this another way. As far as what I did was I went ahead and put this in place right? And then I drilled the holes in place on one side, and went ahead and drilled the pilot hole through here and through the other piece, put the screws in, did the other side, and now that I have this in place, I can actually just go ahead and while it's in place, I can go ahead and do the embedding here and indentation. I'm thinking, I don't know if I said the word right earlier, but you know what I'm talking about. And I can just kind of do that in place, and gives me a little more stability. So just wanted to show you that's another way you can do it. You can drill those pilot holes right through this and right through the other one, and you know you'll be in the place that you want to be. So until next time, or until later, bye. Alright guys, so I kept going. Thought I was going to stop, but I decided to go ahead and put these sides in. So when I say the side 3/4 by 3/4 pieces, that's the piece. And you know, it doesn't matter if this is a little chip, no big deal. I'm putting that on the other side. Again, because these are just braces, it's not going to be seen. This is 16 inches long. So if we look at our plans over here, let's try to go over here. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully you can see this. This is 16. Says 16 here. So we've from that spot to that spot, we've got a 3/4 inch piece that's 16 inches. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll be framing it. And this is the frame for the monitor. And then this is going to be another 3/4 inch piece that's 15 inches long, because that's how wide the cabinet is. And so then we'll end up screwing those into the ends. So what we're going to do is you have to go a 1/2 inch down from the top. And what that does when you go a 1/2 inch down from the top is we put this in here, and this will be a place for us to put the bezel on. And the bezel will sit just right, and it'll look nice, and so you'll be able to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this in here. I don't think I have to film it. It's the same concept as the other ones, but you just want to line this up, have it all lined up, and screw it in there, and I'll show you the end results here soon. Alright, got the sides up. So there's the one side there, at the other side there, and I went ahead and cut these to 15 inches, and then what will happen is these will go right here on the ends. Okay, so that'll go on the end like that, and this is where to get that piece on, I'll actually have to take the control panel off and probably unscrew this piece, this one screw in here, lower this down a little bit, and then what'll happen is we'll put a screw right in the end of that and go right into here. That's why this screw has to be not towards the end but over here, because there's going to be a screw going right through there. Okay, and I'm not going to do that right now, but you will see that eventually. And then, you know, this should be the exact size of the monitor. And again, you know, this is one of those things where if you got to move it out a little bit or whatever because of the monitor, you know, I'm using Dell 19-inch monitors. They're all roughly the same size. And then what'll happen is once we get that in there, and I'll show you how to set the monitor here, not tonight, but next time. We'll be able to just put that bezel right on top of there. This is just my template. And then you'll see that it basically just comes up about halfway up the control panel. And it looks nice and smooth around there. And so that's a good height. This is dipping down, but once that piece is in there, it won't dip down. And there you go. That's what it'll look like. So I will be back for the next part tomorrow or whenever I get a chance. Till then. Alright folks, I am back at it with the mini cocktail arcade build here. And what I'm going to do next on this is cut the bezel. I want to go ahead and fit the bezel, and then go ahead and start placing the monitor and getting that so that it's sitting in there right. This is all the kind of stuff I want to do ahead of time before we actually paint it, and then after the painting will come the electronics. But so the next step is, this is my template bezel, and this is fitting in there actually very, very nice, right? So I have measurements of what this bezel should be cut at every single time, but I always like to measure to see if I need to do a 1/4 inch or, you know, anything. Like now I can see over here, I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit of a little dark, right? But you can see how that slides. So what I might want to do is I'm going to probably cut that a 1/4 inch wider than what this is. So I will measure these, but the measurements in general, go by our thing here, is gonna be, because I don't think I have the measurements down here. I've got 16 here, and I know these are 3/4, so this is about 17.5 this way, and then this way it's 15. So roughly 15 by 18, somewhere between 17.5. So why don't we go ahead and just measure it? Okay. Try to do this while I'm doing this. Okay, so if we measure all the way up tight from control panel to control panel, you can see that it's 18. Okay, so that's what I was thinking. Is 18 by 15 is my normal measurements. Now I might not want that too close, so I might go back about 1/8 of an inch, because it doesn't have to be butt up tight there. And then if we go on this side, again, we're 18. Now if we go over here, we are not quite 15 right there. I mean, 15 would be really tight. So we'll probably want to go back a little bit. And same down here. Alright, so the template is 14 3/4. So I might want to go like 14 7/8. Alright, so you just have to measure that. But it's roughly 15 by 18, but you want to make it as precise as possible. And then this is Lexan. Get this at Home Depot. I'll cut it with the jigsaw. It doesn't crack when you cut it. It works really nicely. I would love to be able to do glass on the top of this, but it's something I haven't investigated, because you would have to have holes drilled down through there and things to keep the bezel in place, because that's what helps keep the monitor in place. So the piece of glass would have to have holes, and I think to really get a good piece would be nice, but it would be much more expensive than $15 piece of Lexan. Plexiglass is cheaper, but this is worth it to get the Lexan here. And and the reason is because this is a cocktail, and so it just catches more dust and things like that rather than an upright where the bezel is slanted. And it does tend to possibly get scratches over time. So you just have to be careful, but it's pretty durable. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and get to the next part, which is cutting this Lexan piece. I'm going to try to do it outside. It may be too dark, or I might just do it on the inside here because it doesn't make a lot of dust. And I'll be back. Alright, I just want to show you how I set this up here. Not sure if you can see this, but I've got my line right here marked out with pencil. So it's a little faint, but and then what I do is I clamp a straight edge at the exact place where I want my jigsaw blade to go, which happens to be just literally a hair under 1 3/4 inches. And you can just measure that. Oh, hold on a second. You can measure from this side right here over to where the jigsaw blade is, or you can just kind of line it up like that. See if I can show you that. right? So you can kind of line it up like that and see where it is, and then measure it out and see what you got. But you want to just make this a nice straight edge. So I'm going to go ahead and make this cut, and hopefully it won't be too loud, and you can see it. A little bit of plastic debris will be in here, but I can clean that up. It's just too dark outside, and it's not too dusty like that MDF, so I can handle it. Alright, here we go. And there you go. And the nice stuff about this is it's got a film on each side, so that what you're seeing there is really just the plastic film, not the actual Exxon that I'm peeling off there. But of course, as we do all of this, we leave it on both sides until we're just completely done. And I will show you the whole way I paint it and everything too. But that's one cut. Once you put this straight edge down, you just hold it up tight, and you can just zip right down through there. And you can see how nicely that cuts it. I'm going to go ahead and cut the other side, and I will be back. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I've got the Lexan all cut out, and it fits in there nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes in here. I'll show you how I do that. But I want to put these pieces on that go on the ends. Okay, so but what we have to do is we have to loosen this. Right, so we just loosen this up. You don't have to bring the screw all the way out, and you just kind of lower it down. Same thing on this side. Okay, so we just lower it down a little bit, and that way we can get in there with our screwdriver and screw this in. Now again, much easier to go ahead and just start these and put them pretty much all the way through, and then just hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, just line that up, and okay, hold on, give myself a good grip. And again, you can really go deep. Ooh, you don't want to go too deep or you'll split it. Like I just started to split. Okay. If you end up splitting, you may have to do another piece. Why am I having a hard time here? Hold on. I think that'll be alright, but I'll have to see. Okay, and then we get the other side. Again, most of the weight is going to be on these sides, but this will be good. This is going to help. I think that'll be alright. And then what I'll do is, I'll go ahead and just do this. Spin this around while I got it here. Take this control panel off. I never take the screws all the way out. Just loosen them enough. Because you end up doing this a lot. You end up taking them, putting them on and off. Okay, so there's the other control panel. Loosen that up. Loosen that up. And then we go ahead and put this one in. Oh, that one's giving me a hard time. Let's go ahead and do this side first. Get on this side. It's a little tricky. Not much you can see of that because I'm a shadow, but okay. time. Go from this way. It's hard to put pressure on it and not move the... Okay, what I needed to do first, before I drilled the holes, and I'm glad I did, because I would have been off just a little bit. It probably would have worked, but I would have been off on the holes, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I got the monitor. This is the monitor that's going to go in here. This is a Dell. And it fits in there nicely. These particular Dell monitors for me have always worked really well from, I guess if you're looking at the monitor, from bottom to top. But from left to right, from here to here, you want to, you know, you just got to tweak this. This is definitely the hardest part, is kind of fitting the monitor in here, making sure it works. So what I ended up having to do is, you can see down in there, I had to put a washer on each one of these, right? And I put a washer down here as well. And what that did is it gave me just the right amount of distance to fit this thing in here nice and snug. And then it doesn't move around. And I'll show you how I mount it on the bottom, and how I kind of like prop it up so that it's nice and secure in there. But I ended up putting these little washers in there, and so I also ended up using these 1 1/4" screws, which you should probably use anyway rather than the 1 inch, because you can do that. I mean, you have plenty of space, and it gives you some extra security. So 1 1/4" screws. You could even use 1 1/2" if you want, which would probably go clear up to here. So. But I have 1 1/4", I don't have 1 1/2", and that's what I've always used. So now that gives me nice secure thing to do there. Now I'm just going to sit these control panels on here. Alright, hold on 1 second here. I'll just show you what I'm doing. Just set the tripod up. Okay, hope you can see that. Alright, so just for now, I'm going to sit these in. Okay. And I'll screw those in later. I just want them in there in place. Okay. And then what I was telling you, I've got these 2 black screws. The one on the left, if you can see it, let me get you some better light. Okay. You can focus in on. This is the one I'm going to use for the monitor. It's a thinner screw. It's not as coarse a thread. It goes through smoothly, and the top looks nicer. And I'm just wanted to point out which screw I'm going to use there between the 2 that I have. And let me put the Lexan here on. Alright, so I've already went ahead, and what you got 8 screws here. Okay. Alright, so I got 1 here. I use a magic marker to center it up, get it in the middle of the board all the way around. Right, so I got 2 on that side, 2 on this side, 2 on the ends, on that end, and 2 on that end. And then of course you got to remember that you on here you've got your screws. Let me show you from this side. You've screwed this board in with 1, 2, 3 screws, right, going this way. So you want to put the screws in between. So that's the way we're going to be able to space our screws out, so I know I'm not going to drill down through here and hit any screws or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got an 1/8 of an inch bit in my drill, and I'm going to drill right down through these. Alright, and that's going to be my pilot hole. And then I'm going to take the Lexan off, and I'll show you that I'm going to do the same type of thing as I did here, but I'm going to make a much bigger hole all the way through this, so that the screw over there will embed down into it nice and smooth. Okay, so go ahead and just do that. Alright, to make sure it's nice and flat. And you should probably take the monitor out to do this, because I don't really have it in there. all the way, but for the sake of time, it'll be fine. Okay. Now, you don't see this, but this is where I was off with these when I marked it before. So I'm going to move it back just a hair from where my mark is. Because it won't be right in the middle of that board. Same thing on this one. Okay. Two more down here. I'm going to move them back just a hair. But these are closer than the other end. Which is why you want to fit your monitor in there first, which I hadn't mentioned before. Kind of thought of it afterwards, because you're just gonna, you just don't know. I use these used monitors. These are these 19-inch 4x3 monitors, which are perfect size, and they're used, but they're cleaned up. Just a side note, usually where I get them from, if I can't find them anywhere else, is Holland Computers sells them. They clean them up, guaranteed for 30 days, and you can get them for like 70 bucks. So decent, good-looking monitor. And so there's the pilot holes, right? So there you go, right? And then now I'm going to take this off, and I will show you that in just a minute. I've got my 5/16 bit here, which is a very good size. It's a perfect size for my screw, right? So you want to just, and again, when in doubt on this, hopefully that's focused. When in doubt, go smaller first, and you can always go bigger. You can't go back the other way. But I know this is a good bit for me. I went ahead and drilled one hole. You can see this board has all kinds of holes in it, and that's from doing what I'm doing here, right? But then now, when I drill that down in there, that embeds in there nicely, right? So then it's nice and smooth. Nobody's going to catch your hand on it, and it's going to look good. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the rest of these right now. Get this thing to stand up. There we go. And it doesn't take much. So I don't even worry about clamping it. But you just want to make sure you go right in the center of that pilot hole that you have there. Right? Because the bit will settle in. And then just one-handed, boom. That's it. That's all it took, and now it's done. It's through. And again, start small. If it's not big enough, go to the next size bit. You don't want it to be too big, because then you just ruined your piece of Lexan. I kind of hold my hand on it because you saw. I don't know if you saw that. It'll pop up on you. Okay. And some of these, you might be kind of close to the edge. It may look like you're close to the edge, but this Lexan's great. It doesn't matter if you're close to the edge. It's very strong. Okay, so there we go. Now, if we put this baby on here, all those holes line up nice. And if I was to take one of these screws and just do this one here. Okay, go ahead and one-handedly screw that in there. See? Nice and snug. Right? So if you set everything up like this, it will work for you. I promise. And you'll be lined up and everything. And it took me, you know, I've done this a few times, so it took me a little while to figure these things out on my own. And then the last piece that has to be cut on this Lexan, which is another reason why it would be very challenging to do this with glass, is even though you don't absolutely have to do this, I definitely like to expose these buttons for the monitor setup. I mean, the first one I didn't have it exposed. I sent it to the guy, and the monitor was off. And I had to tell him to like press on here. I'm like, press right here, right where it might be. And he like could turn it on and off. So after that, I started cutting out a little hole. So I'll show you how I do that here in a little bit. But that's a little trickier. And again, that would be also, you know, those are different on every monitor. So kind of hard to get a template for glass on that. Plus, it would be expensive to even think about doing that. But this is homemade, so that's the way we're doing it. And then when I get to that part, alright, I've got it measured out. Of course, you measure it when the Lexan's on there, but I measured out that the far left button was right around here. Now, I didn't go straight down on that button. I went just to the left of the button. So the button was actually a little bit further over here, and then on this side, the last button on this side was a little bit further over here, because I want to make sure that I expose the whole button. And then I kind of drew freehand just some sort of pencil marks here, but I'll probably mark that a little bit better. But for this hole, I went up to a 1/2 inch bit, and I think a 1/2 inch bit is going to be just the right amount. It seems like a big hole, but I've found that it's better off to make it a little bit bigger and expose those buttons, because otherwise it just looks kind of cramped. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes. And I like to clamp it down for this one, especially when I get to the jigsaw part, because I'm drill these holes kind of like I did the MDF for the small holes. I'm going to go ahead and drill these 2 holes. Actually, I'm going to drill those 2 holes first, then I'll clamp it down for the jigsaw part, right? Because it's a lot better to drill it right into this wood. It keeps it nice and secure. Okay, let's line this up. I kind of look like that. I look like that. Make sure I'm centered. Uh-oh, my bit loosened up for some reason. Okay. This one's takes a little longer. It's a bigger hole. Okay. It's okay that it did that. Like I said, this stuff's tough. Okay. So there's the first hole. And let's get the second one. It looked like that. Okay. Let's see, that one wasn't right. Okay, that feels good. I don't like it quite doing that, but that's okay. No harm done. Okay. Alright, so there we got the 2 holes. Just to show you. Now we got 2 holes, and then we're going to take our jigsaw right down through here. So I'm going to mark this nice straight line for myself. I will freehand it. If you don't want to freehand it, you can do it the same way you did you can mark it off, clamp it down, give yourself a straight edge. But I know I can freehand that pretty good. So that's how I'm going to do it. Okay. There we go. Go ahead and clamp it. And plug in the old jigsaw, although that's going to be in the way, so I have to move that around a little bit. Okay. If you'll be able to see this or not. How's that? You'll be able to see that? We'll find out. You'll get the gist of it though. Okay. There we go. Now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go from the other side. I'll be right back. Alright, hopefully my electrical cord here for the jigsaw will work. It'll stretch that far. And it does. Alright, before I do that, I am going to do this straight edge because I don't like the way that looks. Alright. Pencil doesn't show up too good on here, but it shows up well enough for me to see what I'm doing. Okay, got my edge, and then I just gotta be nice and careful. See a little better that way. That looks good. Now this cuts through this really fast, so you could hear I wasn't really going full bore. I'm taking it nice and slow. Sometimes you see these edges, like I see a little edge, you can actually take the jigsaw. You can use a file too if you want, but I just take the jigsaw and go back and forth a little bit. You know, use it sort of as a filing thing. Right? A little bit right there too, I think. But there we go. I'll show you the finished product. It looks a little rough on the edges because of that plastic film. Once that comes off, and like I said, you can take, I got this nice little file right here. Alright, so this file works really good. You can turn it around and use a flatter edge on the one. It'll come out, and but it's just it's a very fine file, and I use it for all kinds of stuff, so you can kind of work on stuff. And I got other files too, so if you need something a little coarser, but you can file that off a little bit, sand it down, whatever you need to do. But that turned out pretty good. There we go. That's a pretty good view. Alright, so now the next part I will get to, which is basically putting the small square pieces on the bottom that the monitor will sit on, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. Alright guys, this is how this looks for the monitor. Now the reason that those are squares right there, let me put this monitor over here, is these Dells. Now, granted, this is what I've been using, is all Dells. I tend to easily get Dells. That's everything that's been available for me. This square here, I take these screws out, and it's a little indented, so I make those squares there just a hair smaller than this. This is like 4 3/4 both ways, okay, and then I make these about 4 1/2. so that it fits in there nicely. And then you'll notice I've got a 3/4 inch piece of MDF and a 1/2 inch piece of MDF. Now, if I was using that monitor down there, that's a little bit thicker monitor, I would end up probably using 2 pieces of the 1/2 inch. So you have to kind of just measure your height so that the monitor comes up flush with this right here. And then just sit it in there, right? Kind of get yourself set, and then pull the monitor up carefully, right? And then give yourself a marking, right? Because you're not exact. I used to do it exact, and it was really hard to line up. So I just started doing, you know, a 1/4 inch smaller, which is totally fine because this is just for weight going down. So it just keeps everything nice and secure. You might notice I just drilled this hole in here, and then I just spin this, and then I'll drill here and here to mount this to the bottom. I'm going to do that now, and then I'll be back and I'll show you how it sits. But if you have any questions on that, let me know. You know, that's basically my mount for the bottom to hold the monitor up at the right level. Just wanted to point something out to make sure you don't make this mistake. This is an 1.25 inch screw that goes through here, but these, because this is 3/4 inch and this is only 1/2 inch, you want to use a 1 inch screw right here, because you're going to have to really push it down nice and smooth so that we can go like this and spin it like that. But those 2 screws need to be a 1 inch, because otherwise you'll pop through the bottom, and that would not be good. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, and see if I can one hand this. All right, so one hand, putting this monitor in here. I don't have to one-hand it, I got a tripod. Okay. You know what, let me do it from this side. That's much better. Okay. So then, now, of course, if you're off, well, then you might have to move it a little bit. But it's not a big deal. But I think I'm right on. I think. Kind of got a feel underneath here. Actually, I might not be. I might be off a little. I mean, you'll be able to tell if you can't get this in here. No, that's good. There we go. That's good. You want all these corners to be flush, because this part right here, these 2 pieces you want nice and flush all the way around. You know, or as flush as you possibly can get, right? All the way around there. So that's that. All right. So the monitor is now mounted, and the Lexan is cut. So the next parts, I think this is all of the cutting and drilling that we need to do for the moment, and then the next piece will be the painting. Alright, so I'll show you how to paint the Lexan to make it look like a bezel like this. Right, there's my template that I used. So to make it look like that, I'll show you how I do that, and then I'll show you the paint that I use, and how I end up going about painting all this MDF and making it nice and smooth. I've worked that out over the you know, since the first one to now. I kind of got it down the way I want to use what I use with rollers and brushes and everything. So I'll be back with that. I may or may not make that another part. Possibly I'll be going straight into it, or otherwise I will see you in part 3. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. I know that was a bit long, but you know, you can obviously, if you did already, just skipped around if you needed to get to the parts that you wanted to find out about. But I think I did pretty good there, videoing and making sure I didn't get too distracted. But part 3 will be coming soon, and until then, see you later. Bye.